closing, I want to give you this scripture here that supports the foundational text of this series, Unmitigated Life, of Romans 8, verse 38 and 39, and supports the intentional and the specific contextual moment of time in this subject lesson, Unmitigated Love, of Luke chapter 19, verse 8. Here is 1 Peter 4, verse 8. Nothing can stand in the way of God's unmitigated love. And here's 1 Peter 4, verse 8. Above all, love one another deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Sin is disobedience. When you sin against God, you disobey God's laws, God's rules, God's principles. When you sin against man or woman or your family member or your friend or an associate, you're disobeying the principles of treating each other with kindness and love that God expects from us. You're disobeying those tenets, those principles, those values that we uphold as believers, as joint heirs of Christ. You violate that. And so 1 Peter 4 verse 8 says, above all, there is nothing above God's love. There's nothing above God's unmitigated love. There's nothing above God. And because there's nothing above that, when you apply God's unmitigated love and unconditional love to your situation of forgiveness, when you need to be forgiven, if you put forth the unmitigated love and application and adjective in your life, you can receive the forgiveness of God that's already been applied to you. And above all, love one another, showing the positive expression of feelings that you have inside. Those positive feelings that you have inside of you, express them one to another. Love one another, because why should we love one another? Why should we express how we're feeling positively to one another? Why? Because as human nature, as our heart is so twisted oftentimes, our carnality is so wicked so many times, it's easier to show somebody your dislike for them and express the negative feelings that you have for them than it is for you to express the love and the positive feelings. God is saying, God understands that, and God is saying, love one another. Above all, you got to love one another, because love, it is the love of God, the unmitigated love that is not lessened, that is not cheapened, that is not devalued, that is not dismissed easily at all, as a matter of fact. It is God's unmitigated love that covers all kinds of offense. Amen. So for that person who feels that you have been offended, that you've been hurt by some word or some thought, for that young lady who feels that your man has offended you by hurting you, by speaking in this way or that way, for you who feel that you have been offended or hurt, won't you dip into God's love hands and scoop out some of that alabaster love and oil, and apply it to your wounds, and apply it to your relationship? Is not the love of God in your relationship and your connection more valuable than the momentary and the temporary setback of offense? Above all, love one another. And I would submit to you today, to live an unmitigated life that is not lessened or cheapened by what other people think of you, is to apply God's unmitigated love.